Our goal here is that you would provide the same level of quality of care that you would for your loved one, for your mom, for your dad, for your grandparents. We had a beautiful home. It was a very beautiful facility, but it wasn't the best out there. It wasn't like a $5 million property and it had a dedicated activities room and a dedicated pool and all these things. No, it was just a traditional ADA compliant home. But I felt like for me, and a part of my mission was really emphasizing that quality of care, that when a family trusted us with their loved one, I took that very seriously. This is someone's life, right, in our hands. So I tried my best to have that resonate with all of my staff.
Welcome to the RAL Room Assisted Living Podcast with your hosts, Charlie Cameron and Alex Schlow. This is your go-to show for cutting-edge insights from industry leaders in residential assisted living. Whether you're ready to launch your own assisted living business or looking to invest in this fast-growing, high-impact sector, we are here to equip you with the tools, strategies, and confidence you need to succeed. Get ready to ride the silver tsunami and change the future of senior care. Now on to today's show. Welcome back to today's episode of the RAL Room Assisted Living Podcast. I'm your host, Charlie Cameron, and today we're thrilled to have Claud Covaci joining us today. How you doing, Claud?
I'm doing great, Charlie. How are you?
I'm doing well, dude. I'm stoked to have you here. I've heard a lot about what you've built for residential assisted living industry at large. I think it's a game changer from what I've heard from everybody. I'm new to it, but most of our listeners will be too. So really excited to dig into it. But before we get into Syncwise, can you give us an introduction to how you got into residential assisted living? What your life looked like at that point, why you went down that journey, and then we'll get into how you transitioned into the software side.
Yeah, totally. That's a great question, Charlie. So how my journey started, I think early on, I was always passionate about technology and especially like network security and forensics. And I started going towards that journey, went to school for it. And then early on, I ended up just getting a job in logistics and supply chain. And I ended up getting promoted and working my way up relatively quickly. So that kind of put my, so to speak, focus and career on network security and IT on the back burner. And I just focused like the next 10 years on logistics and supply chain, process improvement, SOPs. That was my life. And with all that said, I lived throughout the country and my journey initially started in Ohio to Tennessee. And then I had an opportunity to come out to the Pacific Northwest, which were based over out of Camas, Washington. And I had a great job in logistics. I was a director of logistics. And I was reaching that point where I don't know if it resonates with maybe some of the audience members, but you reach a point in life that if you're ready for something new in terms of shifting careers, this might be that moment to make that pivot. And I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know what that pivot was, but I felt like I was ready for that change to come. And during that time, as I'm like in that phase of just being open and exploring and just seeing what options are out there in terms of me venturing off into, my mother-in-law, out of all people, she was in the residential assisted living industry pretty much her whole life. And she reached a point of burnout, of just pure exhaustion, struggling with kind of the regulatory environment here in Washington State. And just reached the point where, okay, I'm ready to hang up these gloves. And she was going around the family and be like, hey, look, I'm looking to make an exit. Are any of you guys interested? And I think I was probably the last one in line to be a part of that conversation. And when the question was brought up, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my first initial thought was like, no, I know nothing about this, right? I'm not an SME in that industry. It's all the fear of inertia and all these different things. I know nothing about that. And on top of that, I never thought about owning my own business. But something hit in a very different way. And both me and my wife, we talked about it, we prayed about it, and be like, this is an interesting model. As I just started doing my own R&D, this model is unique where you are providing care for seniors, vulnerable adults in a home-like environment. And growing up in Ohio, there was no such thing as this at the time. Like you had nursing homes, and I just have memories of it being very cold, very dreary. I'd walk away in tears of this is where my great grandma is right now. There was nothing cool about it. And I just have memories of caregivers just being drained and exhausted, taking care of multiple people simultaneously, 20 plus. So I'm like, this is an interesting model, having one caregiver to 5, 6 to 10 residents, or in my case was 2. And with that said, I felt like a real motivation that, hey, let's do this. It was both me and my wife came to the conclusion, let's get into this industry. And that's how I got into it. I got into it from that angle. Fish out of water. I was terrified. I was scared, but I've always had a heart for people. But now it's like applying that in a very different way, where you're providing care for someone that is truly in need and dependent on it. So that's how I got into that journey. There's more to it, obviously, but that was my entry point into the RAL industry.
And how much did you end up taking over?
Yeah, so at the time, so here in Washington State, what they refer to as an adult family home, because every state kind of refers to them a little bit differently. But at the time, she had 6 residents. It was one location that I took over. I went through all the credentialing. I got my CNA license. I did my clinicals. During my clinicals, I respectfully requested I want the most challenging clients. I really want to see what this is about. What is it truly providing care for someone that has a traumatic brain injury or suffers from lower Parkinson's disease or Huntington's disease and so forth. So everyone during clinicals was put off by me. This guy trying to be arrogant. And I was just trying to see the reality of it, right? Because from the surface, things always look great. So I wanted to see what are the biggest challenges. But yeah, when we took it over, it was 6 residents in just one location. And then probably within about, I'd say 2 years, I acquired another location. I scaled to my second, and then I was working on my third location because I learned the model.
Okay. Okay. And how many do you have now?
So now I don't have any more. I ended up exiting the industry because of Synkwise. It was a part of my 5-year plan, so to speak, is that leading this tech startup simultaneously obviously was very difficult because I was a full-time CEO and tech startup founder and also a full-time provider for the multiple locations I had. So I'd say for a solid 5 years, there's a reason why I have grays in my hair. It was very challenging.
Yeah.
It was very busy.
Yeah, but from a development standpoint, you weren't doing it from the outside looking in.
Correct.
You were doing
No.
it from the inside, building the software that would work in your homes, which I think just certainly speaks to why people probably praise it so much, because you built it for the operators, the folks that were doing the work just like you. So I think that's super cool. So what was one of maybe the most challenging surprises you faced when you took over that first home?
Yeah, I think, gosh, that's a good one. So like when I got into it, I think what really opened up my eyes about this industry, because again, coming in with not a whole lot of a background in healthcare, is that it doesn't take a whole lot for any of us to be into that potential position of requiring on somebody else to take care of you and feed you and so forth. And I share this story often, but it's something that's been very real to me. But even during clinicals, I was tasked to provide care for a younger gal that was probably in her mid 20s, maybe 26. And it blew my mind, right? Because I was like thinking seniors, geriatric community, the elderly community. And they shared a little bit more about her story, that this was a cheerleader in high school, 4.1 GPA, full ride, great student, got in a bad accident. And now the rest of her life she's going to require on caregivers for feeding, for care, for everything. So to me, that was like my epiphany of, my goodness, like the importance that caregiving really has in society. It became much more real to me. It became much more meaningful. It became purposeful, right? I think getting into that and providing at the beginning, I did all of it. I provided all the care for the residents. I wanted to see what it was like to take care of them, create the care plans, chart the meds, cook the meals. Like I did it all, right? But it was interesting to see the diversity within our home of people that had different diseases, had different challenges, required there's variance in abilities and ADLs and so forth. And I think just embracing all of that, of trying to make that work, where you have a lot of different personalities, but really working with them that, hey, this is a place of safe, like it's a safety net for you. We're providing care. This is going to be your home and do the best. Yeah, there's a lot of things along the lines, but I'd say probably one of the biggest one that was very touching for me is hearing everybody's stories. They all had stories and they all had, hey, this is where we are today. So it just became more real. It became more humanistic in a sense, but totally a lot of challenges as well, because I felt like Charlie early on, I learned that you got to be very methodical to be successful in this business. I feel it's not all business, right? It's not all P&Ls. It's not all balance sheets. It's not all SOPs. You got to have the right balance of heart as well. And it's not all hard either, right? you got to have some structure in having a successful business. So I think like early on, I was able to acknowledge that you got to be really well versed to have a successful RAL when it comes to it. So those are some of the things that I learned pretty early on.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Is there anything that sets you up for success that you think with that first one or the next one?
I'd say probably really quickly, I think what I put a lot of emphasis on is that quality of care was very important to me. And the way I worked even on recruiting my staff and my caregivers is I really like would question them even during the interview process of our goal here is that you would provide the same level of quality of care that you would for your loved one, for your mom, for your dad, for your grandparents. We had a beautiful home. It was a very beautiful facility, but it wasn't the best out there. It wasn't like a $5 million property and it had a dedicated activities room and a dedicated pool and all these things. No, it was just a traditional ADA compliant home. But I felt like for me, and a part of my mission was really emphasizing that quality of care, that when a family trusted us with their loved one, I took that very seriously. This is someone's life, right, in our hands. This isn't just any other business. These people are shaking our hands and giving us a hug and be like, hey, I'm entrusting my mom and my dad in your care. So I tried my best to have that resonate with all of my staff. So I'd say that was one. The second one, I really cared a lot about churn. I didn't want to have churn. There's a lot of conversational pieces behind that, but I really wanted to have very consistent staff. I think especially with some of the clients that required memory care, it's like you got to have some kind of constants, right? If you're going to have caregivers fluctuating nonstop, I saw very quickly that's not going to be the right play. So I'd say probably early on, that's what kind of set me up for success, is really putting a very strong emphasis on building a healthy culture internally and trying then to do my best to replicate that as we scale. Kind of the same stuff I do today here at Synkwise.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so at what point did you realize you were going to create software in EMAR slash, did I get the terminology right? It's EMAR software?
Yeah, it's an EHR EMR, and I'll explain that a little bit more even during the session. But the way Syncwise came to life is because, like, even when I shared with you my initial journey, my initial pathway in tech and logistics and supply chain, and now becoming a RAL operator, I felt like I was confronted with reality, Charlie, that I'm not that smart and that things will slip between the cracks. And within this business, there are so many contributing variables when it comes to operational workflow, from charting medications, from being on top of your tasks and ADL sheets, your care planning, your assessments, your progress notes, keeping tabs of everything that expires and has to be renewed in a timely manner, first aid CPRs, background checks, all these different things, right? I started seeing that there were gaps, there were holes within my operational workflow. And even a lot of times, I don't know if I could resonate with you or someone that might be listening, but I felt like even getting away for the weekend, I would get very anxious because I'd be like, are the meds being given on time? Is everyone doing what they're supposed to be doing for this client to making sure that today is going to be the best it can be for them? So it's like I'd always be texting my staff and then I'd have to wait on circling back. And it's, my gosh, I wish I was there. So a lot of it came from that pain point of not having that transparency and visibility, even though I fully trusted my staff, but not putting the overburden on them of me questioning them on certain things. Has this been done today, or this has been completed? I just wish I was able to just have very quick, transparent access of, hey, our T's are crossed, our I's are dotted, right? Because especially in this environment, it's very highly regulated, especially in our part of the country, right? Licensors, surveyors can pop in any time. And I want to make sure we never have anything to worry about, right? Everything is properly dialed in. So that's when I got on the journey, just coming from a place, because I was seeing it myself, Charlie. I was forgetting to update certain things. We had some holes in our MAR, and it's, guys, did you give the meds? Did you not? Because according to this, we didn't give it, right? Oh yeah, we did. We forgot about it. And every time, like, even like I remember like my first initial inspection when like a licensor came from DSHS, and I would just literally ask her, because there was still like a logistics supply chain SOP in my heart and my mind. And I'm like, out of curiosity, like, what kind of systems do you guys recommend? Because I feel like I'm using spreadsheets, I'm using Google Docs, I'm using Office, I'm using text messages, I'm using emails. That definitely doesn't look very HIPAA compliant to me. So I would ask them, like, what systems would you recommend? They were like, no, we don't recommend anything. Just do your best, and these are the requirements, and we're gonna cite you if you don't follow them. In a nice way, she was
Wow.
joking with me. I'm like, wow, that's not very helpful. But that's when I got on a journey. Okay, I felt like in order for me to be successful, right, in any business that you're at, if you don't have some kind of sound system in place, if you don't have SOPs in place, if you don't have a very good, well-defined operational workflow for your team, potentially that could lead to your demise. So that was in the back of my mind. And that's when I started the journey and I was looking for software. I didn't even know the term at the time, EHR, EMR. I was looking, I'm like, there's got to be some kind of app out there that I could use that can help me manage my RAL, my community, and manage everything out there. So I got on a journey of then understanding, okay, there's such a thing as an electronic health record, which is what an EHR is, right? That MDs, physicians, clinicians are accustomed to utilizing in hospital settings and SNFs, and an EMAR being an electronic medication administration record. So I started the journey to see what's out there and what could I be able to adopt and utilize within my business for my team. And that's when I quickly saw that, oh my goodness, there really aren't a lot of solutions that are tailored for a smaller business such as myself. I'm not a skilled nursing facility. I don't have 200 beds. I'm not a hospital, right? I can't afford to be spending
Yeah.
thousands of dollars a month on a basic subscriptions and going through terms and conditions that I'm going to have to pay my legal counsel to spend 20 hours to review a lot of this stuff right now. So I almost felt like Charlie that I'm like, my goodness, there's a chasm here. There's a chasm. There's a chasm within the residential long-term care sector when it comes to the larger communities and the smaller communities. And at the end of the day, there's humans on both sides of the aisle. Humans that are going to rely on us as caregivers, as operators, to be there for them on a daily basis, 24/7. So that's when, for me, everything became full circle. That's when the tech side of me kicked in, the logistics side of me kicked in, my passion for the industry kicked in. And that's when Syncwise came to life. And I had this idea, hey, what if I do something about this? And it was one of those things where I felt like, within my lifetime, I have a lot of ideas. And
Oh,
some of
yeah.
them, I'll sleep on it and it's okay, it's gone. It's a stupid idea. This one didn't leave me alone. This one, for some reason, like I'd go to bed thinking about it, I wake up. And it went on and on for a while until I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me at least share this idea with a few people just so they can speak truth to me and reality and be like, you know what, buddy, just go master your golf game or something. This is not for you. You don't need to be getting into this space. But at the time, everyone came back and they're like, hey, you might be onto something and you might be onto something big. So that's the full circle, so to speak, of my journey.
Dude, that's awesome. It's amazing how things sometimes come together, especially as entrepreneurs. You don't know what your journey might even hold. If you'd asked me when I got into entrepreneurship at all, which was real estate
Hmm.
investing initially, I didn't
Hmm.
think I'd be doing assisted living. I also didn't think we'd be running a mastermind and have a podcast.
Yeah.
Even a year ago, we were still talking about it, which was crazy. We created a Facebook community. This is how it happened. Create a Facebook community to find more operators to lease assisted living homes to, because that's
Hmm.
what how we started with our model was, hey, we're just going to
Right.
lease to owners or lease to operators, and
Right.
and we were just looking for more folks to lease to. We started this Facebook group. It grew to 14,000 people, like really quickly, and we realized, oh, there's no mastermind community type format for
Hmm.
education to help
Hmm.
people launch these homes, where they want to do the lease to operator thing, where they want to operate. And we don't have all the expertise, but we know how to raise money. We know a lot about real estate. We know a decent amount about assisted living. We're like, hey, what we can do is bring all these people who want to do this together, bring the
Hmm.
experts in the room, and we can give everybody what they need to succeed as a network and as a community. And then through that, open a whole bunch of really highly needed homes, great homes all over the US. And we didn't even know, we didn't understand. It was January of last year we started talking about it. And here we are. It's a successfully launched community. There's over 80 members, and when it's continuing to grow, and we've got this podcast, and you just don't know how things are somehow going to come together. And it just felt like for us, that's the same kind of thing happened. It just all came to a head, and now
Uh-huh.
we're all in on assisted living. We just think it's such a beautiful industry, and it's so cool to be able to be helping people and in a fulfilling way, as
Right.
well as meeting a huge demand and being
Right.
able to build financial freedom off of that. I just think
Right.
it's so cool in so many ways.
No, it really is. It's if somebody would have told me that I'd be doing what I do today, I'd be like, you're out of your mind. There's no way I'll ever get into that space. But I think that's what there is something to be said about the entrepreneurial spirit because it's almost there's a level of obsession that kind of starts creeping in where you see a problem, you see a need, and then it's okay, can I do something about that? Can I truly make a difference within that? And then it's basic. I look at it, hang on for the ride because it is a journey. But that's really cool, man. That's really cool to hear how you guys got up and running. That's really neat.
Yeah. Claude, so how many homes does Synkwise serve at this point?
Yeah, so we're over 2,000. We're over 2,000.
How is that?
And yeah, we started here in Washington. We're currently in 23 states right now. And most of our growth as of recent has all been entirely word of mouth. A bootstrap tech startup. I did not bring on VCs. I didn't bring on angel money. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put my own capital in here. I have co-founders as well. We put our own capital into this. And look, if this thing fails, it's on us. And I'm like very intentional in terms of making sure we have real skin in the game when it comes to this. And it got real very quickly. And venturing into a tech startup, it's very complex, very challenging. And there's a reason why the odds are stacked against us, right? Very low success rate. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. We're over 2,000 communities. And it's interesting is because we predominantly focused on smaller communities, the residential assisted living communities throughout the country. But what's happening now as well is we're getting large communities that are hearing about us. And they're like, okay, you guys have figured something out because we have caregivers and staffing, and that's all they do is talk about you guys. We were very intentional about listening. Let's start there. Let's listen to what everyone's experience is like. Obviously, I've got my perspective and my experience in my homes. And of course, I was the first guinea pig where I brought Syncwise. And this is predominantly an industry that is not very tech savvy. A lot of them they got the fear of inertia. I'm utilized to just using binders galore and paper. And that's how, for the most part, it operated. And the reality is that paper doesn't talk back to you. It's as simple as that. You have to go through paper and binders and identify if there's any potential discrepancies, deficiencies, or issues. So I think what was very important to us was really understanding the user persona, the user journey, and making sure that we create a product that really works and is meaningful. And they truly feel that we are hearing what they're experiencing. Because early on, Charlie, like a part of my research, I connected with multiple MDs and physicians, and I'd ask them, be like, what do you love about your EHR and what don't you? And we had a lot of interesting feedback. And the common denominator that I started seeing there's a pattern here is that a lot of them would say, we just wish that more doctors were involved in the process of creating a solution for us. Because some of this stuff we feel like it's just very technically driven, not so much from a clinical standpoint driven. And a lot of them said, look, we want to spend the least amount of time on our EHR. We'd rather spend most of our time with the patient. So that stuck with me because that's the way it ought to be, right? We're not selling ads on Syncwise. We're not an ad revenue business, right? So you got to create a tool that is just very intuitive, easy to use, attractive. You get in, do what you got to do, and you move on. And most of your time then is allocated on providing great care or just overseeing your business and making sure things are dialed in. But yeah, I can go on and on about that. But yeah, currently right now, we're very thankful for the grassroots support because it was our customers.
Hey there, sorry to interrupt this episode, but I've got a question for you. Do you want to share in the wealth and incredible returns from the highest demand asset class in real estate without the hassle of doing it all yourself, or at least not yet? Residential assisted living is booming and it's only gaining momentum. That's why we created an investment fund at Open Range Capital, so you can benefit without the heavy lifting. With the silver tsunami upon us, demand for assisted living is far outpacing supply, making this the can't miss opportunity for the next few decades. We provide access to fully vetted investment opportunities that are primed for success and ready to deliver strong passive returns. Don't wait, ride the wave with us. Visit theralroom.com/invest to partner with us on future investment opportunities. Again, that's the ralroom.com/invest. We look forward to connecting with you. Now back to the episode.
That honestly became our sales force. They really did.
That's awesome. I love the bootstrapping. I've created a number of businesses. I've only done it that way. A couple have failed. That's part of the process, right?
Part of the process. That's right.
You live and you learn and you move on. But
Yep.
so at what point in that journey did you realize, oh, we've got this is going to be successful? We're over that kind of valley of death?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would say probably so the first 3 years, because the idea first came to life when we got our LLC back in 2017. We launched our MVP, and an MVP is our minimum viable product. So it's just the basic core features that you want to bring out to the market and get real feedback. So I would define it, there was probably two moments that were very defining in our journey. One of them is that we attended one of the largest conferences over here in the Pac Northwest, and we didn't have a product. We had a logo, we had some flyers, and we had an idea. Okay. And I wanted to experience that because, like, based on how the market's going to respond, right? It could just be that this is all in my head and I think this is a great idea, and my close circle thinks it's a great idea, but bringing out to the marketplace, they're going to be like, oh, it's a cool idea. A cool idea is not going to succeed, right? They got to come back and say, oh my gosh, this is a brilliant idea, right? Because if something is cool, doesn't mean you're going to put a card on file, right? It's got to be something substantial, be like, I'm willing to really try this out. And when we went to that conference, it was such a beautiful moment. We were exhausted, we were overwhelmed, and everybody that came by our booth, they were like, can we sign up right now? Can we sign up right now? And we're like, we don't have anything right now. We got this cool idea of proof of concept, but we don't have a product. But I saw very quickly that the market responded very favorably.
Wow.
So I'd say that was defining moment number one. And number two is going through the process of the MVP. It was a dark time. It was a valley. Our product sucked. I don't know a better way to describe it. It didn't look good. It didn't work well. It was like, if there was a moment probably for us to probably call it quits, that might have been it.
Interesting.
But I wanted to stay true and be like, you know what? No, we're following this path. Regardless of how bad it is, we keep going. We listen, we improve, we refine. And then it was around Q3 of 2019 where we had our first stable version released. And then we started seeing real traction. And then the one leading it to like the defining moment number two was actually during COVID. And during COVID is where I felt like a lot of people then were looking at even researching, what does remote management mean? What does it look like? How do I become more intentional on utilizing technology within my business during this time? So obviously Zoom blew up, right? Everyone then all of a sudden, they never been on Zoom. Guess what? Now you are. For us, it was business as usual because we basically exist in the cloud. So most of our team and our tech team, we were on Zoom. It was our daily check-in. But I'd say during COVID is when we saw the needle move instantly. And people were hearing about us like, oh my gosh, this is really great. I can actually, especially for a provider that has more than one location, I don't have to physically go to each location. I can reduce my steps when it comes to this and work intelligently and work smarter, not harder, not even have to be physically present to see, is everything being done properly? Are my staff properly charting medications on time? Are they on top of their progress notes, their shift notes, their incident reports, their NARP counts, all these things, right? So yeah, I think those are the two moments. It was one, attending the conference when we had nothing but an idea, and the second one was during COVID when I felt like, okay, we've got something here.
That's awesome. That's so cool to hear that everybody was just pounding on the booth door and you didn't have anything to give them yet. That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely speaks to the need. And
Yeah.
with 2,000 homes, it's obvious the need was there. Okay, so tell us about EHR, EMAR, Synkwise. Tell us about the problems that it solves for care homes.
Yeah, totally. So I think the number one problem that it solves is that it gives you visibility. And I think in any kind of business, coming from an entrepreneurial standpoint, you need KPIs. You need to be able to see how your business is performing. So the first thing we've done is that when you log into Syncwise, it's got a very attractive dashboard, and it's immediately bringing to you items of importance or things that you should be addressing. So when you first walk into your RAL, the first thing you'd probably do to see if something is wrong, right? One, you want to make sure your residents are looking good, they're being fed, the house is clean, smells good, all that stuff, right? But then you're gonna go to the binders, right? You're gonna go to your MAR book. You're gonna see, making sure, has everything been checked off? Is everything dialed in? Is anything expired? Is anything missing? Is anything misplaced? Speaking from experience, we would have stuff misplaced throughout binders all the time. And I think for me, like also as well, speaking to the pain point is that when a resident first moves in, that physical binder is maybe like whatever, half an inch at most. But then when they are with you a while, a year, 2 years, 3 years, I had some clients that were with me over 4.5 years. We literally had 5 binders for them worth of information. Became very difficult and painful to be able to keep track of everything, making sure everything is in its proper place. And when somebody requested certain information, that I can quickly and accurately get it, right? So our dashboard solves that. Is that you'll be able to quickly see if a medication was missed, if a medication was not given on time. It'll indicate if there's certain documents that require your attention. Maybe they're coming up due. Maybe the nursing assessment needs to be reevaluated. Perhaps you're running low on medications and you got to submit a refill request over to your pharmacy. That brings it out to the surface. And I'd say probably one of the most special things that I feel it solves, because if and I'm not saying this to be pitchy because I don't have a marketing background. It's just I'm very passionate and I care about this industry. And like the tagline that we came up with years ago was raising the standard of care. Because I felt that if technology is properly utilized, it will do just that. It will raise that standard of care. But one of the features that we worked on developing is that a lot of times, I'm speaking from experience, guys, where it was like lunchtime, I'm passing meds. I'm also providing the meal for everyone. I have one resident falls, another resident gets in an altercation with another resident. I have to chart the blood pressure for one of my residents because it had a hold parameter, hold this medication if systolic is less than 100. I'm literally feeling like a circus clown because I'm juggling a lot of things simultaneously. And that's where a lot of times where you might potentially get a reading that is abnormal, right? An abnormal heart rate, an abnormal blood pressure, maybe the blood glucose is spiked. And when you're dealing with multiple things simultaneously and all of them have a higher heat index, right? It's very easy to lose focus on, oh my gosh, I've got someone here that needs to go to the ER right now. So one of the things that we've done is that whenever a blood pressure or heart rate or any kind of vital that is abnormal outside the mins and maxes is charted in Syncwise, it will automatically trigger an alert on the dashboard and also trigger an alert via text message and email as well. So especially for nurses and MDs and providers that are a part of the continuum of care, they're able to get those alerts automatically based on our tech stack versus always relying on the healthcare worker to remember to reach out to their supervisor or to reach out to the nurse on site and so forth. So those are like a lot of the pain points that we're solving, is that ultimately instead of you having to navigate to see what is potentially wrong or what could go wrong, we are bringing that to the surface in a very easy to process way where you're not just going to see a bunch of warning emojis and you're going to freak out and trigger anxiety, right? There's a level of finesse you got to do there because you have too much. That's not going to work. But solving the problem of having sound structure, having a good system where you're managing the care of your client. I'm sure you've heard this term before and everyone has. If it didn't get charted, it never happened. So from a liability standpoint, we really focus on providing a product that sets you up for success. Yeah. And a part of that does involve mitigating liability and using technology to provide the best level of care.
Yeah, it sounds to me like this would help you a lot with state inspections and ensuring that you are doing everything you need to do for your residents, as well as meeting safety and medical standards. Have you ever looked at like just the data of homes without this and homes with it and failing inspections and whether that has changed over time?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of great case studies as we're starting now. We have a marketing strategist on a team, a director of business development, and it's like, hey, we need to get this information out to market because we're seeing like great success stories. So it's really awesome. Like a lot of our clients will reach out to us and yeah, we just went through our inspection. We went through a survey. And the licensor is like, what is this? This is amazing. This is really good. And of course, for the public workers, they're not going to go publicly endorse Synkwise, and that's fine. You got to respect those boundaries between private and public sector. But we're getting a lot of great positive feedback and a lot of our clients thanking us that like you put us at ease. Like we're able to go through the inspection and the survey knowing that we were ready for it in real time versus freaking out when someone shows up. What are we missing? What did we forget? What's potentially out of compliance? What are we going to get cited for? So we're seeing a lot of great positive traction. And I will say this as well, that I think is this didn't happen overnight. This was years in the making. Because I really felt that you've got the public and you got the private sector, right? You've got compliance and regulatory and APS and CPS and all these different agencies from a regulatory body. And then you've got us on the private side, right? Of running the RALs and doing our stuff as entrepreneurs. And I noticed that over the years, I feel like there was such a disconnect between the two. And there was almost like a level of disregard for one another, where their providers are just so fearful of licensors and surveyors. And I'm like, you know what? It shouldn't be like this. I shouldn't be scared or terrified when a licensor shows up or a surveyor shows up. So we spent a lot of time, and I did my best in terms of building relationships with the program directors from various Department of Health Social Services, a lot of the licensors, a lot of the surveyors, hearing their story, hearing their journeys. And it's been pretty cool. It's been a breath of fresh air because I am involved and engaged in conversations with them. And I've presented to them. We've had multiple conversations. And to hear off the record, the public sector coming to me and saying, you've done something amazing here, and we are thankful for you. That's pretty cool. You can't pay for that kind of endorsement because, and that's the thing, right? It's like we're all in this together at the end of the day. And everybody plays their part, right? The regulatory body, like imagine an environment or an industry without any regulation, without any safeguards. That would not be a very safe place where I would trust to put my mom in or my dad in, right?
Yep.
So I think we're doing our best to help improve the narrative, because I feel like once everybody's in unison working together, that is going to bring systemic positive change within the industry. And that's what we fight for.
I think you brought up a really good point at the end there. We get a lot of folks who ask us, which state should I open an assisted living home in from a regulatory standpoint? Which states are quote unquote best? And but what they usually mean by that is which states have the least regulation.
The least, exactly.
Yeah. And I'm always going, it's a double-edged sword. Okay, so a place has a lot of regulations, Washington State or California.
Correct.
Okay. But guess what? They give you a legitimate checklist to follow to get licensed and to stay licensed. Wow, wonderful. And then you go to a state like South Carolina and they have no idea what you're talking about. And so you're right. There could be some shadier stuff that happens. Not that's necessarily going to be the case.
Sure.
But there's no format and they don't even know what you're talking about when you say residential care homes. I just think that's so funny. And it's not an over under regulation thing. You gotta understand that everybody you interact with in this industry to do this is part of your team. The inspectors are there for a reason. You're supposed to be compliant for a reason. People's lives are at stake here. And using a tool like this would certainly help instead of just a Google Doc and some text messages and some emails and paper and like trying to track everything. I could see how this would really clean that up and make life a lot easier from the standpoint of managing a home and making sure residents are safe and cared for in the best way possible. And ultimately, isn't that what you want? When you listen to all the other episodes here, guess what? If your residents live longer, you win. And guess what? If you do a really good job taking care of your residents, you win. And you'll always be full. And you will never have to worry about vacancies or anything else because the best homes stay full. And so I love it. I think more people need to take a look at things like this. And just a lot of people are adverse to technology and it drives me insane. There are care homes without a website. You got to get with the times. I don't care what age you are, what your background is. You got to embrace technology and things are getting easier. And I'm sure you've designed it for folks who aren't super tech savvy, but you got to get with the times because these tools are meant to just help you streamline and save you time. Yes, there may be a little bit of upfront learning curve, but after that, man, your life is going to be so much easier and you're going to sleep better on the weekends, like you said.
No, you hit the nail on the head, Charlie. And like initially, like when we rolled out our product, this might sound weird, but I was literally targeting the most non-tech savvy users imaginable. Because those are the ones I was aiming for. For you and me, I think we would have no issue. We'll coast through it. But what about someone that has spent their entire careers potentially not utilizing technology? And I'll share this very quick testimonial that I think was really powerful. And there is a provider that I met with out of Spokane, Washington, a very sweet lady, has been in the industry for like over 30 years, like a pioneer of the industry. And she told me, she's like, Claude, you're a nice guy. You seem really sweet. Look, I'm gonna sign up with you, but I'm just telling you up front. I'm gonna probably cancel after a month. I'm gonna be retiring here soon. I'm not tech savvy, but you seem like such a nice guy, and I think I just want to give you that. At least she gave me a heads up. You know what? I'm like, you're so sweet. I
Signing up to
appreciate
cancel.
that.
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever feedback you can provide us, we are going to be forever grateful for it. And she signed up. She did not cancel. She stayed with us for an entire year until she retired. And she came back to me and she's like, Claude, I got to tell you, I wish I met you 30 years ago. And I wish that this product was around back then. It would have saved me a lot of heartache. And she even went like on Facebook and social media and said some very kind things. And obviously that spread because she was a very well-respected provider that is not just going to do that because of my charm. I'm not very charming at all. I don't even like looking at myself. But at the end of the day, she saw that there's real value in systems and there's really real value in technology. So I felt like that was something that was so impactful and so powerful to us, is that somebody that was very transparent and honest, which I love that, first of all. It's like someone that is real like that. I'm going to respect you. I don't even care if you're not going to be a Syncwise customer. I love that about people. But then for her to see that, my gosh, this would have made a world of difference over the years that I've been in business if I would have had a tool like this. Because a lot of it, there was no clearly defined roadmap. Like, how do you manage your business? What tools do you use? It's hopefully you figure it out and hope for the best. Keep your fingers crossed when inspection happens, kind of thing. So anyways, that's what we cared about, right? Because we want this product to work for people that, regardless if you have a GED or a PhD, it's going to have to work for both. So it's very challenging, not easy, but that was a part of our schematics and our roadmap in terms of UI and UX and how we developed it.
Dude, that's awesome. What a great story. What a great testimonial. People need to understand that it really takes three things to scale. You need systems, as in tools, processes, as in procedures to follow, and people. Who's not house, hire people on. And I learned this early on when I was just starting investing in real estate. I had pivoted from multifamily to short-term rentals. One, short-term rental is fine to manage yourself and from afar. And then a second one, it's starting to get a little bit messy and it's hard to sleep on the weekends because something could go wrong. When I got to 7 or 8, I was like, oh man, I'm in trouble, right? Like I had to have systems in place. I had to hire a virtual assistant too. Like you have to bring the right tools to bear in order to scale. So the people who are listening, they're like, man, I'm never going to get past one home. Everything's so crazy. I have so much to worry about. You need some systems, you need some procedures. And by doing
100%.
so, you're going to buy back a ton of time and a ton of stress. And all of a sudden, instead of being stressed out to even be where you're at, you're going to be itching and ready to scale. You're going to be ready.
That's right.
Oh, wait a minute. I could do 2. I could do 3.
That's right.
I could hire another body and now I could do 10. There are plenty of people who've been on this podcast who own 10 plus homes. It's totally possible. And I guarantee you, every single one of them is using systems.
That's right. That's right.
They have to. And so I just want people to kind of keep that in their head. Don't be adverse to trying out different systems. Now, I know there's tool fatigue and overwhelm. You do have to kind of pick one and go at some point. But yeah, I think it's so important.
Very much, very much. And speaking of tool fatigue as well, that is such a good point. And this is why we really try to be as all-encompassing and all-in-one solution. So instead of having your staff learn 3, 4, 5 different applications, we did our best to create our product and create Syncwise to be as comprehensive as possible. From digital signatures, from intake, automation, care planning, progress notes, various alerts, mechanisms. We did our best, and we're never going to stop either improving and making it into just one powerful solution, one tool, versus coming to your staff members that are very scared about technology, be like, hey, I need you to learn 3 different solutions or 4 different solutions. That's just not going to work. That would have never worked in my business. So that was really a lot of our intentionalities, having that really all-encompassing single tool to make it easy for mass adoption.
Love to hear that. I wish more folks would do things that way. I know I have way too many tools on my plate, but that's a little bit of life.
That's right.
All right, Claude. So before we wrap this up, what are some big trends you're seeing in the assisted living industry right now, or how do you see it evolving over the next few years?
Wow, that's good. So I would say one of the things that we're seeing from our perspective is that in some pockets of the country, there is a little bit of saturation that is going on. I feel like a lot of people are getting into the industry. And I think there's a lot of great entrepreneurs that should be getting in the industry that I think is a very great indicator. But I'm also coming across a lot of folks getting into this industry. And I don't want to use the term maybe misconception, but potentially there might be a little bit of misalignment. A lot of them might be getting in and thinking that it's a get rich quick kind of industry. And it's not. There's going to be work that has to be put in. And I think what I do as well for a lot of my speaking engagements and presentations is really highlight on the fact from an educational standpoint that at the end of the day, you're getting into this market segment. This is healthcare. And granted, but you don't have to be an MD, to be licensed, right? But you still have to have a very good understanding of what you're committing to. What kind of residents are you bringing into your home? Are you capable of providing two-person assist 24/7 and things like that? So that's one of the things where we're doing our best to just make sure that people that are getting into this industry, what you're getting yourself into, versus being confronted with the harsh reality, oh my gosh, this is a lot more than I bargained for. It's, oh my gosh, I got to have two staff members on site 24/7. So I think that what we're seeing is there is more awareness that's going on. And thankfully for what you do and what the RAL room provides is providing that great content and creating that good, strong support system. Now I say that's probably one of the biggest things that I feel that sometimes is missing is people get into this industry and they don't have that support system, right? They don't have the various network to be able to get good ideas or suggestions or and whatnot. So that's so essential. That's so essential to be
Yeah.
successful within this industry. But on top of all of that, I feel like over the next 5 to 10 years, this industry is going to grow. And I think that you're going to see more regulation coming down the pipeline in specific states. Like you said it so well in terms of South Carolina, and there's other pockets of the country where there's providers trying to license to get a RAL and they don't even know what license do we give you? We don't know what inspection do we
Yep.
do. So I do see that kind of getting cleaned up a little bit. And there's going to be hopefully a little bit better structure and a better pathway towards, hey, this is the process of getting licensed. This is what a building inspection is going to look like. This is what what's going on. So I see that going on. And I do firmly believe that this model, I think it's going to exponentially grow. I really do. I really do. I think obviously senior living facilities and assisted living, they're going to serve their place, but I really feel that I think that with the right marketing and like what we're doing as well, like we're trying to really put sound technology and systems behind this industry, right? Because I feel like more of the general population needs to know about this. They need to know that there are alternative options when it comes to long-term care and end-of-life care, putting somebody in a home-like environment versus a larger community that you've got one caregiver taking care of upwards of anywhere from 12 to 24 residents. I'm not speaking from experience. A lot of my staff that I hired came from larger communities. And when I would ask them, I'd ask them the question, so are you going to be good providing care and oversight for five to six residents? And they're like, oh yeah, that'll be just fine. I did it for 20 from the last place I came to. So that's what I'm thinking, Charlie. And that's what we're seeing. And we're getting a lot of data in terms of the baby boomers coming as well, that this industry is going to grow. And we want to do everything we can to help support healthy growth and making sure we've got the right systems in place to support that. That's what we're seeing.
Love that. So in summary, the industry is going to expand, million beds short, another million on the way very
100%.
soon. Hopefully the right people are getting into this industry. Hopefully states are regulating in the right ways. I'd love to see a few states open up their bed count, their max bed count as
Right.
well, because I think it's silly what a lot of them are
Mhm.
doing. And you need systems to be able to not be so stressed and to scale. And Synkwise sounds like a great system to use as your EMAR software in a RAL home. Claude, dude, this was awesome. If folks want to learn more about Synkwise, what's the best way to do that?
You can go to Syncwise.com. You can hit any of your favorite social media platforms. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn. I like to say we don't hide behind a keyboard and a monitor. It's pretty easy to get a hold of us, but Syncwise.com is a good place to go.
I love it. And the website is absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you.
Unbelievably well done. If nothing else, go check out that website because it's beautiful. And it looks like you can get a free demo. So that's pretty sick as well. So anybody who's considering it, head on over there, check that out. We're not getting anything out of this. I'm just telling you this because we've heard a lot of folks tell us, hey, we love Synkwise. We love Synkwise. So we reached out because we wanted to talk to Claude and learn more about it ourselves. So Claude, dude, thank you so much for joining us today. Congrats on all of your success. This has been fantastic. Hope to bring you back when you've got 5,000 homes.
Charlie, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much. And sincere congratulations to you and to your entire team and for what you guys are doing in the industry. What you guys are doing is vital and is so much needed. So thank you for what you guys are doing.
Appreciate that. Until next time. Thank you for tuning in to the RAL Room Assisted Living Podcast. We hope you found today's episode insightful. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave us a raving 5-star review. And a quick review helps more listeners find the show and more seniors get the exceptional care they deserve. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And just so you know, we have prepared some free resources for you to help you succeed in residential assisted living in addition to this podcast. Head over to theralroom.com, that is the RAL room.com, to download our free 10-step guide to launch your first or next residential assisted living home, or our 10 reasons to passively invest in residential assisted living ebooks. And if you're ready to take the next step and make real moves in the RAL industry, join us in the RAL Room Mastermind. It is an exclusive community where we deep dive into everything you need to launch and grow your own residential assisted living business. You'll get access to recorded courses, live calls with industry experts, a RAL calculator, resources and tools, like-minded entrepreneurs, funding opportunities, and an expert networking community to help you along your journey. Be sure to join us next time on the RAL Room Podcast as we continue to explore the world of residential assisted living with more great guests. See you then.